rather than saying कि भैया वो पालक लेना, छोटा छोटा पहले काटना, उसको ढेर सारे पानी में उबालना, पानी फेंक देना, फिर उस पालक को तड़का लगाना, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह। पेशेंट का एक्सप्रेशन ऐसे होता है, वो पालक आप ही खाना। Right? So there's absolutely no need for leeching business, right? Now, I do not know why people talk. You ask any nephrologist, they hit only about palak, right? Now, these are the vegetables which are extremely high in potassium. कोई इनको पूछता ही नहीं है। Probably इनके पास ना वो मैनेजमेंट, वो एडवर्टाइजिंग एजेंसी उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से नहीं हायर किया, पालक ने बहुत अच्छे से हायर किया हुआ है। Now, what you have to do, where is a technique where you can give lot of variety of vegetable? The technique is still that you're going to manage potassium, and if you keep this management in such a way that from milk, from your good quality protein, you target that you're giving around 15 milliclans, from cereals and pulses another 15 milliclans, you have around 20 milliclans coming from fruits and vegetables, and you can really plan a very good diet, right? All right. Now, can we give bananas to this patient? Now, this is a question which is asked by a number of nephrologists. Okay, कि banana खिला सकते हैं कि नहीं? Now, please, girls, remember that the electrolyte content of any food depends upon the electrolyte content of the soil of the country. तो ये हमारी मिस्टेक नहीं है कि हमारा इंडियन बनाने में 2 milligrams of potassium है, whereas American banana has got 10 milligrams of potassium, right? Now, let's do another exercise. In the same diet plan, what I had planned, उसमें मैंने एक medium size का apple भी डाला था, ठीक है? Now, you know that apple has a little lesser potassium value than banana. Now, raw values अगर देखोगे, apple की value है 75 milligram per 100 gram, बनाना की वैल्यू है 88 मिलीग्राम पर 100 ग्राम, ठीक है? अब मैं क्या करती हूँ, इसी डाइट प्लान में एप्पल की जगह मैं एक बनाना, एप्पल को निकाल देती हूँ और एक बनाना डाल देती हूँ। नाउ प्लीज रिमेंबर, जब मैंने एप्पल डाला है तो वैल्यू क्या है? 1781, रिमेंबर दिस वैल्यू, ओके? अब मैंने उसको क्या किया, वो निकाल करके मैंने एक मीडियम साइज का बनाना डाल दिया। ओह गॉड, ये क्या हो गया? ये तो उल्टा हो गया, इसको ज्यादा होना चाहिए था ना, ये उल्टा कैसे हो गया? अब ये पहले 1781 था, अब 1738 दिखा रहा, why? It is because the edible portion of the food, right? A banana gives not more than 70% edible portion, right? So एक मीडियम साइज का बनाना जो है आपका 100 ग्राम से ऊपर नहीं जाता है, 100 ग्राम से नीचे ही रहता है। Whereas now this is a slide which I used to teach nephrologists. जब मैं कहती हूँ बनाना तो इमेजिन करते कि कौन सा बनाने की बात कर रही, तो then I have to even show them कि भैया मैं इस बनाना की बात कर रही हूँ, this middle size बनाना वो इंची टेप से नापा हुआ है, right? Now your apple has more than 95% as edible portion. Right? So this is where I tell girls now, stop looking at your raw values. You have to see कि कितना अंदर जा रहा है, पोर्शन साइज से कैलकुलेट करो, रॉ से नहीं। Alright? Okay. Now can our patients take citrus fruit? A big no. जब काउंसलिंग सेशन होता है, citrus fruits बिल्कुल नहीं खाना, right? अरे भैया हमारे देश में है ही कितने citrus fruits, right? अब अगेन एक छोटा सा संतरा यार 100 ग्राम का भी नहीं होता एडिबल पोर्शन, राइट? और एक नींबू निचोड़ते हो तो कितना उसमें जूस निकलता है एनीबॉडी? एक मीडियम साइज के नींबू में कितना जूस निकलता है? व्हाट इज द एडिबल पोर्शन? 3 टीस्पून वगैरह, अराउंड 15 to 18 ml, ठीक है? अगर पेशेंट ने 2 बूंद अपना नींबू निचोड़ लिया सैलड में या तो दाल में, उसके कारण वो पूरा खाना खा पा रहा है, तो कोई दिक्कत है, right? See, the point is, the moment they have a CKD patient, potassium no. Please remember that potassium, there are so many other factors which contribute to potassium, okay? He may be having some severe infection, some severe catabolism. Now, potassium is a major anion inside cation, right? Sorry, I'm bad at it. inside the cell. Okay, any infection, any catabolism, potassium oozes out. So अगर patient का infection है, उसका infection के कारण potassium बढ़ा हुआ है, तुम्हारे खाने से नहीं. There are so many drugs which increase the potassium, right? So there are so many other factors which you have to consider. And अगर patient का urine output सही है, now potassium excretion from the body is majorly done by the secretion part. So if the patient is taking out good amount of urine, कोई infection नहीं है, serum potassium is normal, why the hell have you got to restrict potassium? There is no need, right? So you have to be very logic. And then बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो पोटेशियम बढ़ाती हैं, जिनमें पोटेशियम बहुत ज्यादा है. Why is that we restrict fruits? It's not that fruits are very high source of potassium. No. When a dietitian restricts on fruit, because say if you have a patient, say diabetic nephropathy, जिसका प्रोटीन लॉसेस हो रहा है, उस प्रोटीन लॉसेस के चक्कर में डॉक्टर ने उसको कुछ ARBP ड्रग दिया है, लेकिन वो ARBP ड्रग पोटेशियम बढ़ा रहा है, तो डॉक्टर इज कंसल्टिंग अस कि आप डाइट में से कहीं से थोड़ा सा पोटेशियम निकालिए ताकि मैं वो ड्रग कंटिन्यू करता रहूं, क्योंकि वो ड्रग बहुत एसेंशियल है, राइट? ओके, नाउ इन दैट केस द फर्स्ट थिंग वी टेल द पेशेंट कि फ्रूट पूरा निकाल दो, सलाद बिल्कुल नहीं खाना. व्हाई? Not that because they are very rich in potassium, because from somewhere I have got to reduce the potassium from the total diet. And कौन हमारे इंडियन, कौन रोजमर्रा में दो फल खाता है? नहीं खाता ना. तो managing that is much better. Your one roti has 2 millicalorics of potassium, your dal has 5 to 10 millicalorics of potassium, but then you can't say कि भैया रोटी खाना बंद कर दे, right? So you're going to be very logic. Okay, now yes, we know that our general population, where we should be taking around 16% of the total calories coming from protein, we do not exceed more than 11%. This is the general population. अगर मैं आप सब लड़कियों का पोटेशियम प्रोटीन इंटेक अभी निकालूं तो कोई भी 40 या 45 से ऊपर नहीं जाएगा. You're all taking renal diet. Okay? Now, this is the way we take protein. Okay? Now, हमारा प्रोटीन एक नॉर्मल बंदे का भी 0.7 या 0.8 से ज्यादा नहीं जाता है. So is there any use for restriction further? This is the recommendation given for renal patient. There is absolutely no need for restriction. But then, should we stop at that or should we check the quality also? We have to check the quality, because अगर वो 0.8 के हिसाब से अगर हम ले रहे होते, अगर वो अच्छी क्वालिटी का ले रहे होते, तो that would have been good enough for our normal population. But then because we are majorly plant eaters, that's the reason our normal recommendation is 1 gram, not 0.8 gram, because there the protein quality is also taken into consideration. Similarly, for the CKD patients also, renal patient also, the quality of protein is very, very important. 50% should come from good quality proteins. It says by all the different recommendations. Now, what is the difference between the Western population and an Indian population? Now, Western population एक 6 फीटिया वहां का इंसान जिसको इतना प्रोटीन खाना होता है, वो इससे ज्यादा खा रहा होता है. जब वो रीनल पेशेंट बनता है, उसे कहते हैं कि भैया एक बड़ा टर्की मत खा, 2 पीसेस चिकन खा, देखो उसके मुंह कैसे बन जाता है. राइट? इट इज द रिडक्शन ऑफ द क्वांटिटी ऑफ प्रोटीन, उसकी क्वालिटी में फर्क नहीं आया है. राइट? नाउ वेयर एज वी इंडियन, हमारा 6 फुटिया, उसको खाना है इतना, लेकिन वो खाता कितना? इतना. राइट? अगर जब वो रीनल पेशेंट का, अगर सपोज जब वो रीनल का शिकार होता है, तो क्या होता है? जो अच्छी क्वालिटी खा रहा तो वो भी गायब हो जाती है. राइट? सो इन आवर इंडियन डाइट इट इज द क्वालिटी व्हाट यू हैव टू इंप्रूव. ऑलराइट? सो इट इज द क्वालिटी व्हिच इज more important, not the quantity. And that is the way we tell our, educate our patient कि भैया वही वाली बात है, अच्छी क्वालिटी का तुम्हारा सर्व हो तो एक छोटी सी चम्मच से चल जाएगा, लेकिन अगर अच्छी क्वालिटी नहीं है तो बड़ा कड़छा लेना पड़ेगा. Right? So this is the way we teach. Now even Dr. Georgie has very recently published saying that even in his non-vegetarian dialysis patient, the good quality protein did not exceed more than 30%. Right? So that is the way we eat the quality of protein. Now, can the paratha be included? This is the question asked by dietitians. Now, let's see this diet chart again. Now, when I'm planning this diet, Now we all know that be it diabetic or be it cardiovascular disease or cancer or whatsoever, our target, the recommendation for fat is that it should not exceed more than 30%. Right? That's the first target, and then the subsequent target comes कि उसमें कितना saturated होना चाहिए, कितना monounsaturated होना चाहिए. Then the target is about the quality, right? Now we'll take care of the quality, but then what I really do is, you cannot impose too much of arrowroot. You have to have some limit when you are adding it in the wheat flour. You cannot put too much, so you cannot go on increasing your carbohydrate. हमारा population वो नहीं है कि जो jam जली खाएगा, right? Now, so what I do is I increase a little fat, but within the limitation. All right, so that my proteins are such, my carbohydrates are very practical. Now, say if I do that, and if I keep milk as low-fat milk, and I take care of first all the fat, invisible fat coming from all the things, is मैंने सब कुछ डाला है, सिर्फ एक oil नहीं डाला, because I wanted to see what is the contribution coming from all the invisible sources. कि उसने जो सलाद खाया है, जो रोटी खाई है, जो चावल खाए हैं, जो सब्जी खाई है, सबका मिला करके फैट कितना बना है, right? So invisible fat is this much. I know that I'm going to totally give this much of fat. Total fat should be given. उतना invisible से आ गया. So the rest I can nicely prescribe as number of teaspoons of oil. And please check, the number of teaspoons of oil comes to something like 5 to 7 teaspoons. So why can't, and I'm well within the recommendation, and I'll take care of the quality of fat. So why can't my patient have a puri or parantha? And especially an indoor patient जिसकी वैसे ही appetite इतनी low होती है, right? Okay. Now, coming to the energy part, we are always, when we talk about renal patient, the focus is always about protein. हम blindly protein को पीछे भागते हैं. No. Try to increase the calories, and that will really help your patient. Why? Because it will help to spare the proteins. Now, the recommendations for the CKD patients, they also very clearly say that if you're not able to meet the total calorie requirement on this low protein, please increase your protein, but see to it that the calories are met. Okay? So this is very, very important. And girls, the youngsters, now this is the way I teach my CKD patients. To teach them the effect कि पूरा खाना, calories खाना बहुत important है. Now what is this concept? मान लो ये मेरा इंजन है, बहुत पुराना इंजन है जो कोयले से चलता है, ठीक है? तो मेरे पास कौन कौन है कोयला डालने के लिए? Fat, and these are the two. So man, I have to put this koila, ठीक है? Now we know that protein can do lot many other things, programming, which these two guys cannot do, right? So he is busy doing this programming session, right? लेकिन अगर ये दोनों कमजोर पड़ गए, अगर if you do not provide enough of fat and carbohydrate, वो क्या होगा? वो कहेंगे प्रोटीन बेटा उठ और हमारे साथ कोयला डाल. जब इंजन ही रुक जाएगा तो तेरे प्रोग्रामिंग का क्या होगा? Right? So this is the way, the importance of giving good amount of calories to your patient. Okay? Now preparation without tomatoes. Now all the calculations which I have shown you, they're all the vegetables or the dals prepared with tomatoes. Right? So there's absolutely, एक टमाटर में कितना पोटेशियम होता है? 100 ग्राम टमाटर तो होता नहीं, उससे थोड़ा सा कम होता है मीडियम साइज का, तो उसमें कितना पोटेशियम होता है? 100 ग्राम में कितना होता है? Not more than 140. Right? So there's absolutely no. और वो जो हमारा प्याज मसाला, प्याज और टमाटर का मसाला जो बनता है ना, जब तक वो भून करके वो जब तक काला ना हो जाता तब तक हमें स्वाद नहीं आता. उसमें पोटेशियम कितना रह जाता है? Please, one of you do the study about it. Right? That will really help my patient. Now, can our patients take potatoes? Leaching करने के बाद, I remember few years back. अच्छा मेरे लिए बेल है. अच्छा few 5 minutes, नहीं 2 minutes. A few years back, when I was a student, I remember I used to tell my patients, आलू खाना है ना, तो आलू में ऐसे कीजिएगा कि बहुत बारीक बारीक काट लीजिएगा, उसको ढेर सारे पानी में उबालिएगा, उसके बाद वो पानी फेंक दीजिएगा और फिर आलू को जैसे आपने छोंकना हो छोंक लीजिएगा, राइट? एंड द सेम एक्सप्रेशन, खुद ही खाओ ऐसा आलू, राइट? नाउ डे वन इफ यू फाइंड द लीचिंग प्रोसीजर में जितने भी आपको अगर पेपर्स मिलेंगे ना, उसमें 85% पेपर्स आर ऑन potatoes. Why? Because it is the Western people who require it. We Indians don't require it. Their intake of potato per capita consumption is very, very high. Very, very high. Okay? It amounts to something like 5 kilos in a week. 5 kilos in a month. Whereas for an Asian, it comes to around 2 kilos in a month. Right? So the quantity of potato intake is very high. Plus, the potassium content of their potato is very high. It's not as high as our Indian population. हमारे Indian potato में इतना potassium नहीं है जितना उनके potatoes में. So they require all these leaching business. And why should we blindly copy them because they are sending the recommendations? No. Right? So we don't need any leaching procedure for our Indian population. Okay? Now, should chicken and fish be leached? Yes. There's a wonderful paper by Kapasti who has shown that if you do a little leaching business in your non-veg, it takes out around 30 to 40% of phosphate and also the potassium, which is a very good thing without disturbing the protein part, right? So this is a thing. So when it comes to the leaching business, we advise leaching business only in dals as well as in non-veg, nothing else, right? Now, पेशेंट्स के जितनी भी क्वालिटीज हैं वो मैंने ऑलरेडी पूरी कर दी हैं, राइट? सो आई नीड नॉट हैव टू गो थ्रू दिस. नाउ दिस इज अनदर स्लाइड. इट जस्ट डजंट से थैंक यू, इट हैज अ स्टोरी बिहाइंड. नाउ मोस्ट ऑफ आवर पेशेंट्स लाइक यू नो आर द वंस, आप उनको विजिट करने जाते हो तो क्या ट्रेडिशनली क्या है, या तो मौसम्बी लेके के जाएंगे या तो फ्लावर का बुके लेकर के जाएंगे, राइट? राइट? सो आई टेल माई पेशेंट्स, यू नो, व्हेनेवर यू हैव एनीबडी विजिटिंग यू, लाइक आई हैड अ पेशेंट जो उसके पास जब भी मिलने जाओ तो उसका जो बेड है उसके आसपास जो है ढेर सारे फ्रूट के बास्केट या तो फ्लावर्स वगैरह पड़े रहते थे. मैं कहती थी भैया आप तो बड़े वीवीआईपी हो. हाँ जी मैडम, वो जो है ना यहाँ के जो पॉलिटिशियन है उनका ताऊ का चाचा का समथिंग इज माय रिलेटिव और समथिंग लगता है, तो वो रोज मुझे मिलने आते हैं. मैंने कहा बड़े प्यार करते हैं भैया आपको. तो मैंने कहा आप नेक्स्ट टाइम आए ना उनसे कहो कि इतना ही प्यार है तो मेरे लिए पनीर का पकौड़ा लेके आओ, कचौड़ी लेकर के आओ, फिश फ्राई लेकर के आओ. That is much better than getting those bouquets and fruits, right? Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Your discourse, as usual, was as informative as it was entertaining.
Thank you, sir.
As it is always. The only reflection that I have, that is about leaching of pulses. You know, you said that. It is done in boiling water and doing it for an hour or so. And then you also said that the same can be used for the whole of the family. So is it an outcome of some standardization, like by doing around this time, this soaking in boiled water? So is it, because my concern is that it is softening of the dal, and when you cook it, then the consistency will not be to the liking of every person. मुझे लगता है कि फिर वो दाल से ज्यादा वो कढ़ी बन जाएगी, तो फिर थोड़ा सा, तो मेरा कहना ये है कि थोड़ी स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन हो जाएगी, क्या पता कम समय में लीचिंग हो जाती है.
yes,
तो उसकी कंसिस्टेंसी रहेगी. जैसे हम सोयाबीन की करते हैं, जब सोया फ्लोर बनाते हैं तो हम ब्लैंचिंग करते हैं. हम क्या करते हैं कि बॉइल्ड वाटर लेते हैं, उसको उतार लेते हैं 90 डिग्री तक. जब वो आ जाता है, वी डू इट वी मेक इट विद 1% सोडियम बाइकार्बोनेट. वी डू इट फॉर 20 मिनट्स. ऐसे अगर स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन हो जाए और कम समय में ये लीचिंग हो जाती हो इन दोनों चीजों की, तो फिर कंसिस्टेंसी पार्ट, क्योंकि हर कोई चाहता है मैं फूड खाऊं, मैं दवाई ना खाऊं. So this reflection I have. I don't know.
Okay. Very good point noted, sir. And I would request you only to take up this project. Because it's the need of the hour. Right? Because at the hospital level, I've tried my best, but हमारे यहाँ पर जो है पूरा सीरम के ऊपर जो है lot of analysis होता है. We don't have facilities to do it on food. Okay, so that's a constraint. And I would request any of the teachers over here to please take this project. We have to do something which is relevant where we can apply it in our clinical setup. So even if you do a small little project, let me tell you, अगर आप मुझे सिर्फ इतना बता सकते हो कि पनीर फाड़ना है, तो अगर मैंने दही से फाड़ा तो उसमें पोटेशियम और फास्फोरस कितना वे में चला गया, कितना पनीर में रहा, और अगर मैंने विनेगर से फाड़ा तो उसमें पोटेशियम कितना वे में चला गया, कितना पनीर में रहा, और अगर मैंने कुछ और चीज से नींबू से फाड़ा, राइट, तो कितना, राइट, a small little thing, if you do this, it will have a good clinical application, right? Similarly, what Dr. Saab said, सर ऐसा है कि टाइम लैग के कारण मुझे बहुत ज्यादा स्पीड में जाना पड़ता है क्योंकि मेरी स्लाइड्स बहुत होती हैं. नाउ the leaching procedure, now I'll come back again. What I've shown you over here is an extrapolation of all the research we have, but then all this research is Western research, okay? Now, what we do is we tell the patient कि उसको soak करना है गर्म पानी में, right? Minimum 1 घंटे के लिए, उससे ज्यादा नहीं, right? तो वो soaking में जो लॉसेस होते हैं, देयर वुड बी अ लिटिल न्यूट्रिशनल लॉसेस जो भी है, बट वो इतने आई मीन डिवास्टेटिंग नहीं होंगे कि अदर्स विल आल्सो बी अफेक्टेड, राइट? दैट सोकिंग वाटर हैज टू बी थ्रोन आउट. रेस्ट जो वो फ्रेश वाटर डाल करके जो वो पकाते हैं, उसमें हमने सिर्फ इतनी रिस्ट्रिक्शन डाली कि नमक ना डालें पकाते वक्त, बिकॉज नमक hinders the leaching procedure. It does not allow the phosphate and potassium to come out, right? सिर्फ हम उतना कहते हैं और उसके बाद हम वो पानी नहीं फिकवाते. हम बस उनसे ये कहते हैं कि वो दाल जब पक जाए तो ऊपर का जो सूप पार्ट है वो थोड़ा सा डिकैन करके दूसरे बर्तन में डाल लो. नीचे की गाढ़ी दाल, हमें वो पानी ऊपर वाला नहीं चाहिए अपने पेशेंट के लिए. नीचे की गाढ़ी दाल जो है उसमें वो पेशेंट को सर्व करो, राइट? सिमिलरली जब आप राजमा छोले बना रहे हैं तो हम चाहते हैं कि वो दाने निकाल लो, वो सूप मत दो, राइट? दैट्स द वे वी टीच आवर पेशेंट कि कोई पार्टी वार्टी में जाना है, छोले राजमा पड़े तो मोस्ट ऑफ आवर पेशेंट्स नो दे थिंक ये खाना है कि नहीं खाना है, तो ऊपर ऊपर से तरी खा लेते हैं, तो सूप खाते हैं. वो ज्यादा डेंजरस है. दे शुड टेक द दाना एंड हैव इट, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट वी टेल देम, राइट? उससे बाकियों को नुकसान नहीं होता. एंड सर कंसिस्टेंसी वाइज जो आप कह रहे हैं, सिर्फ वो भिगोना जो है दैट इज द ओनली डिफरेंस. बाकी जो है कंसिस्टेंसी वाइज जो नॉर्मल जो बना रहे हैं हम कहते हैं कुकिंग टाइम कम हो जाएगा, तो बस बाकी कंसिस्टेंसी नहीं होती. That's what I said. Sir, please do it. Sir, please do it. और बहुत जल्दी छापिएगा. Right? Thank you. Any other questions, please? Yes, please.
If a kidney patient daily chapati is taking just 3 chapatis, is there any need to add iron flour with wheat flour?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं जरूरत है. उसको 3 पर चपाती की जगह उसके लिए 3 पराठे कर दे, 2 कचौड़ियां कर दे, 2 पूड़ी कर दे तो बहुत अच्छा हो जाएगा. या 2 एक आध पकौड़ा भी डाल दे, क्यों नहीं खाएगा वो?
And if serum potassium level is exceeding more than 7, then citrus fruit should be excluded from the diet completely.
अरे भैया, सीरम पोटेशियम अगर 7 होने लग गया ना तो उससे कहना कि एक दवाई मिलती है वो पहले जरूर खाए जो डॉक्टर ने प्रिस्क्राइब की है. ओके, आई टेल यू द थिंग हियर. नाउ वी हैव टू एक्सेप्ट द फैक्ट व्हेन इट इज एन एक्यूट थिंग, राइट? जब आपका पेशेंट जब हॉस्पिटलाइज होता है, व्हेन माय स्टूडेंट गोज एंड सीज ऑल द पैरामीटर, तो एक सवाल मैं हमेशा पूछती हूँ, क्या कारण था कि वो एडमिट हुआ है? उस कारण को हमें और देखना है, उस कारण को हमें भी प्रायोरिटी लेकर के चलना है. तो अगर आपका पेशेंट 7 से आया है ना, तो पहले ढूंढो कि उसको कौन सा दवाई मिल रही है. 7 वाले पेशेंट को दवाई भी नहीं, उसको एक देखोगे कि उसको एक इंसुलिन ड्रिप से दी जा रही है डेक्सट्रोज के साथ. ओके, व्हाई? बिकॉज इंसुलिन इज एन एनाबॉलिक हार्मोन एंड इट पुट्स बैक द पोटेशियम इनटू द सेल. राइट? इन द एक्यूट फेज क्या होता है, पोटेशियम बाहर निकला हुआ है, उसको अंदर डालना है, तो कौन डालेगा? इंसुलिन डालेगा. तो इंसुलिन अलोंग विद द डेक्सट्रोज, दैट इज द ट्रीटमेंट गिवन. उस टाइम पे आपका पेशेंट खाने लायक भी नहीं होगा. राइट? बट देन यस, व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज काउंसिल द पीपल अराउंड कि जब वो थोड़ा बहुत खाने लगता है ना, तो क्या देते हैं उसको? जूस पकड़ाते हैं. राइट? तो उसे बोलो भैया उस टाइम जूस वूस नहीं, जो उसको खाने दीजिएगा, लेकिन जूस वूस नहीं देना. राइट? सूप देना है, ये नहीं करना. हाई पेशेंट होता तो उस पहले सूप. नो, वी आर जस्ट स्टार्टिंग विद द डाइट, सो वी वुड लाइक टू हिम टू हैव सम चिकन सूप. Right? So you're going to counsel them that at that acute stage they should not introduce something which is very high in potassium. Right? कुछ और रह गया क्या?
Ma'am, can we replace dal with the almonds and walnuts? Many
Wow.
patients ask.
Wow, dal with the almonds and walnuts. Right? No dear. Check on the values. Potassium, the phosphorus content of these nuts are very very high. And what are you achieving? If you are replacing, आपका आधी कटोरी दाल आप रिप्लेस कर रहे हो, कितने 3 ग्राम प्रोटीन कितने आलमंड से निकालोगे?
4 to 5.
पक्का? जाके चेक करो और फिर देखो इक्वलेंट कितना है प्रोटीन का, फॉस्फोरस का. सिमिलरली दैट रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन आस्क्ड बाय वन ऑफ माय पेशेंट. मेरे पास आया, कहता कि मैडम पिछली बार आप समझाए थे हमें कि प्रोटीन अच्छी क्वालिटी का खाना, गांव का पेशेंट था, प्रोटीन अच्छी क्वालिटी का खाना बहुत अच्छा होता है, मैं समझ गया था. ठीक है, तो जितना आपने दूध कहा, जो आप पनीर वनीर कहे थे, मैं जरूर खा रहा हूँ, लेकिन एक छोटी सी दिक्कत है, पनीर हमें इतना पसंद नहीं आता है, दूध हमें बहुत पसंद आता है. तो आप ऐसे कीजिए कि पनीर निकाल दीजिए, हमारा दूध बढ़ा दीजिए. राइट? वैलिड क्वेश्चन. राइट? नाउ दैट्स व्हाट आई सेड, दैट यू हैव टू स्टार्ट डूइंग कॉन्सेप्चुअल counseling. Now then I sat with him. I said, ठीक है भाई, यार वैल्यू दिखा. Now they keep doing this KFT test so very well that उनको वैल्यू रट जाते हैं. मैं कहती हूँ भैया जब भी आते हो एक डॉक्टर साहब ये टेस्ट कराने के लिए बोलते हैं, हाँ जी कौन सा टेस्ट है ये वाला, पोटेशियम है, फॉस्फोरस है, ये है वो, उसको सब टेस्ट याद होते हैं. मैंने कहा ये फॉस्फोरस करवाते हो? तो खून में एक चीज तुम्हारा फॉस्फोरस है. अब देखो नॉर्मल वैल्यू में कितना लिखा हुआ है, इतना, तुम्हारा कितना है, बढ़ा हुआ है. अच्छा, जब तुम पिछली बार आए थे तो तुम्हें मैंने बोला था कि ये वाली टैबलेट जो है खाने के साथ खाना बहुत जरूरी है. वो काहे बोली थी? कि वो फॉस्फोरस बढ़ा हुआ है, वो जो टैबलेट है खाने का फॉस्फोरस उसको बाइंड करता है, इसलिए वो खाने के साथ ही खाना है, बोली थी. तो ये मतलब तुम्हें दवाई मिल रही है वो फॉस्फोरस घटाने के लिए. राइट? देन तुम्हारा 1 गिलास जब दूध पीते हो तो उसमें अराउंड 8 ग्राम प्रोटीन मिलता है. 8 ग्राम के करीब प्रोटीन तुम्हारे शरीर में जाता है. ठीक है, उसी के साथ कम से कम 200 मिलीग्राम फॉस्फोरस भी तुम्हारे शरीर में गया. ठीक है, अब वही 8 ग्राम प्रोटीन तुम्हें 45 ग्राम को क्या कहते हैं, 45 ग्राम टुकड़े पनीर से मिलता है. ठीक है, वही 8 ग्राम प्रोटीन तुम 45 ग्राम पनीर से भी ले सकते हो. लेकिन अगर तुमने वो पनीर का टुकड़ा खाया, प्रोटीन तो मिल गया, लेकिन तुम्हारा पोटेशियम फॉस्फोरस कितना गया तुम्हारे शरीर में? सिर्फ 60 मिलीग्राम. दूध खाया, 8 ग्राम प्रोटीन खाया, वहां पर 200 मिलीग्राम और यहाँ पर 60 मिलीग्राम. तो ये फायदा है कि नहीं फायदा है? अब बाकी तुम समझदार हो, देख लो.
I think we can handle the question and answer session in the tea perhaps.
Sure, ma'am.
Because there are a lot of questions and they are waiting for the next session. Thank you so much.
Divya Seth, Divya Tripathi, Kirti Joshi, Payal Jain, Sakshi Pathak, and Swati Mathur. Since we are having paucity of time, limit for presentation is 5 minutes. And my humble word to all the presenters is that do not go by whatever you have written. Don't try to read it out, the whole thing, and don't make language an issue. You can express yourself in whatever language, English or Hindi, and try to tell the audience about the gist of your work. That is much more important. And time, you don't have to cross this limit of 5 minutes. At 4 minutes, the bell will ring, and by all means, you have to finish by the 5th minute. That's my very, very humble submission. So you go for the gist of your presentation.
So, aged 18 to 54 years in Ajmer city. So, this thyroid is located, thyroid gland is located in our neck. It is a butterfly-shaped endocrine gland, and its main job is to produce two hormones, that is T3 and T4 hormones. And these hormones are help in growth and development of the body and regulate the body temperature and also assist in body organs in their function. So, when the thyroid gland does not work properly, there are mainly two disorders of the gland. So, first is hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Okay. So, when hypothyroidism occurs, the two hormones are not produced by the gland properly. So, the main I've focused only hypothyroidism in my study. So the main signs and symptoms of the hypothyroidism are unexplained weight gain, hair loss, irregular menstrual flow, and fatigue and lethargy, hoarseness in the voice, depression, cold intolerance, droopy eyelids, constipation, dry and scaly skin, hand tingling, slow pulse, muscle cramps, infertility, etc. Initially, these symptoms are very subtle and often are ignored by the patient. And by the time a person recognizes that he or she has the disease, the symptoms are in a very severe form. And as the disease develops, metabolism also slows down. That is why patients of the hypothyroidism gain weight. And these are all the studies done previously in that in every 10 Indian adults, one person suffers from hypothyroidism. And mostly the adult age group above 35 years of age are at higher risk of the hypothyroidism. So, women have the more chance of getting hypothyroidism. And mostly women and over age population is more prone to this disease. So the aim was the assessment of health, nutritional status and dietary habits of women suffering from this disease in age 18 to 54 years in Ajmer city. So the data was collected from this age group and their health was assessed in terms of their food habits, dietary pattern and frequency of consumption of goitrogenic food, and their biochemical profile for T3, T4, TSH levels were studied. And we also tried to study the coexistence of other diseases with the hypothyroidism. And we tried to relate the goitrogenic food consumption with the hypothyroidism. So the tool was a detailed questionnaire, and it was mainly given to the females of Ajmer city in the urban area. The sampling technique was purposive sampling, and age was 18 to 54 years. Sample size was 60.
You have to conclude.
Yes. The results in this discussion: the average age was found to be 32.3 years, and minimum age was 18 years, and maximum age was found to be 54 years. Mainly the Hindus were seen to be suffering from this disease. Then most of them had their regular periods, but it was with the flow was high, more, with 60%. Then 57% of them were on their regular medicines. The main complications which they suffered in their pregnancy was anemia, low birth weight babies and overweight babies. The main symptoms which they suffered from Symptoms they showed was palpitations, fatigue, agitation, anxiety, depression, dryness of skin, unusual hair loss and weight gain and protrusion of eyes, excessive sweating and muscle weakness. These were the main extreme signs and symptoms. And 80% of them had a history of disease in their family. The main diseases which coexisted with the hypothyroidism were high blood pressure, high cholesterol, PCOD and obesity. The main food consumption in terms of goitrogenic foods were soybean, tofu, peanuts, flax seeds, strawberries, cabbage, radish and coffee. And they were taking some herbal remedies and supplements also in that. Aloe vera juice and calcium supplements and multivitamin supplements they were taking majorly. These are some limitations and recommendations for the further studies. References. Thank you.
So questions can be addressed afterwards when we all mingle during the tea break.
Okay.
And then we have the next speaker. It is Divya Singh.
Can we ask?
Yes.
Can we ask few questions, or we have to ask afterwards? If we have some.
I think if there is very genuine question, then one can. Some enlightening, some genuine question. Otherwise, because we have the number is quite large and. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Divya Seth, and I'm going to represent a research paper titled "Effect of Working Hours on Health Practices, Obesity, Physical Activity Level, and Stress Among Working Population." As for the introduction, we all know that work and health are intimately and dependably connected, where a large part of one's adult life is spent at work. And thanks to the technology that has enabled the workplaces as virtual work environment, where a large part of one's adult life is spent at work and as well as home. They have morphed the environment. So we can conclude that a basic time at work is a basic component of occupational exposure, and therefore is of enormous concern for health and well-being of the working population. To add on to it, sedentary work of the nature and invariably increasing stress level just add to the elevation of the risk of chronic disease amongst employees. The aim of the study was to assess the effect of long work hours on health practices, obesity, physical activity level and stress among productive population 30 to 60 years in Jaipur city. For the purpose of the study, total respondents were 60 who were full-time workers and belonged to the age group of 30 to 60 years. They were further divided into two groups, one who were working more than 48 hours per week and the other who were working less than or up to 48 hours per week. These respondents were selected as per the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Inclusion criteria included that the worker should be full-time worker in the age group of 30 to 60 years and have at least 5 years of experience. As for the methodology, 4 tools were employed. First was a structured questionnaire to assess the health practices. Second was anthropometric measurements of the respondents were taken to assess height and weight to calculate BMI levels. Then physical activity levels were calculated using 3-day physical activity recalls. And finally, the occupational stress was assessed using occupational stress index. As for the results, the two categories, working less than and more than 48 hours, they were compared on the basis of few of the practices. First was the habit of skipping meals. It was concluded that 36.7% respondents who were working more than 48 hours per week were assessed to be having a habit of skipping meals compared to only 26.7% from the other group. The main reasons enunciated by the group working more than 48 hours was lack of time, followed by overeating during the previous meals and fullness. The next question that was put on to the respondents was the habit of nibbling in between meals, for which almost 90.7% of the respondents from group who worked more than 48 hours per week said that they had a tendency to indulge in fried snacks like samosa and bread pakora and other unhealthy snacks like biscuits and namkeen, while only 63.3% of the people working up to 48 hours agreed to have a habit of nibbling in between meals. When the intake of fruits was assessed per week, only 36.7% of the participants from the group working more than 48 hours agreed to having fruit on the daily basis as compared to 53.3% of the other group. Comparing both the groups on the habit of taking breakfast daily, it was found that skipping breakfast was more prominent in respondents who were working longer hours on account of time constraint. As for the consumption of caffeine and cold drinks, 23.3% of the people working longer hours had a habit of consuming cold drinks regularly, that is 2 to 4 times a week, as compared to only 8.7% on the other group. Consumption of tea and coffee was found to be higher in the group who were working more than 48 hours, as 20% of them said that they had at least 5 cups of tea and coffee per day. Next, for the habit of consumption of fried food and frequency of eating out, the participants, 20% of respondents working longer hours said that they had a habit of consumption of fried food on a daily basis. 13.3% participants were compared to 3.3% of the other groups said eating out was as frequent as 2 times a week. As for alcohol consumption, 40% of the respondents working more than 40 hours per week agreed to consuming alcohol as social or regular basis, and 50% indicated that, and of those 50% indicated that they started taking alcohol only after they started working. As for physical activity, 90% of the population working more than 48 hours were sedentary workers, while only 76.6% of the other group were sedentary workers. As for obesity level, the BMI levels were assessed, and it was found that a total of 70% population working higher number of hours were either classified as pre-obese, obese, class 1 and 2, as compared to the other group who were just 56%. Lastly, for the occupational stress, it was found that the 33.3% respondents from the long work hour category were highly stressed at work, while 43% were moderately stressed. So we can conclude, as compared to population working less than or equal to 48 hours, results indicate a negative effect on population working more than 48 hours in terms of health practices, physical activity, occupational and stress levels, and obesity. Looking into this research evidence, it may be assessed that these conditions in the long run may definitely produce adverse health consequences. Thank you.
So next speaker, Sakshi Pathak, weight status and school eating pattern of early adolescents studying in Chandigarh city. Sakshi Pathak.
Good evening all of you. I am Sakshi Pathak. Today I am going to share my findings in my research work I have done on the topic weight status and school eating pattern of early adolescents studying in Chandigarh city. I choose this topic because adolescence is like this plant who is in a stage of growing gradually towards maturity, and foundation of healthy lifestyle has been developed through this age. Before further any proceeding, let's understand the meaning of adolescence. Adolescence is derived from a Latin word adolescere, which means growth to maturity, and as per WHO, it is an age between 10 to 19 years. Adolescents have very special nutrition needs due to rapid growth and maturation associated with puberty, and there is a dual burden of underweight and overnutrition on this stage. The objective of the study was to assess the weight status and school eating pattern of early adolescents and to compare their eating pattern with their BMI. A random sampling method was adopted to select 280 students, out of which 86 were girls and 194 were boys, and a self-administrative questionnaire was designed to gain specific and general information and to assess weight status, height, weight and BMI was calculated using the standardized method. And as you can see in this table, BMI has been classified into 4 categories according to A. Ramachandran. Now there is well. This table showed that after collecting the data for height and weight, BMI has been calculated, and the table shows that majority of the girls and boys, that is 48.9%, falls in the category of normal weight, followed by 36.8% who were underweight, then 7.9% were overweight, and 6.4% of total were obese. This is the graphical representation of the table, which clearly shows that the prevalence of overweight and obesity was higher in girls as compared to boys. This table shows that the eating pattern of the adolescents, which shows that majority of the girls, that is 51%, prefer to have packed lunch, followed by both, that is packed lunch and canteen food. But on the contrary, if we see the boys' eating pattern, 40% of the boys prefer to have both, that is packed lunch and canteen food. The point need to be mentioned here that majority of the overweight and obese, both girls and boys, that is 56% and 55% respectively, prefer to have both packed lunch and canteen food. This table shows us the reason why they are eating in the school canteen. The main reason for eating in school canteen for both girls and boys were the taste of the food, and other driving forces were peer influence, and they don't carry the packed lunch. This table shows us clearly that the most preferred item to be carried in packed lunch was paratha with pickle or sabji. This table shows us about the preferences about the snacks. It clearly shows that the most preferred food items, which are potato chips and sandwiches, that is 69%, followed by Maggi and noodles, that is 64.2%. But in the case of overweight and obese girls, 91.6% of the girls prefer to have Maggi noodles. In case of boys, 81.1% of the total prefer to have fast food and burger. This table shows about the beverages they prefer. It clearly shows that they prefer fruit juices and lassi and chaat as compared to tea, coffee and cold drinks. These are the major findings of the study. 29.1% of the girls and 41.2% of the boys were underweight. Majority of the girls and boys were normal weight. 11.6% and 9.3% of the girls were overweight and obese respectively. 6.2% and 5.2% of boys were overweight and obese respectively. In general, prevalence of overweight and obesity found to be 7.9% and 6.4%. In our study, we found that there is a gap in school eating pattern of girls and boys. Girls prefer to have packed lunch, whereas boys prefer to have packed lunch, but along with canteen food. The study also showed that majority of the overweight and obese boys and girls prefer to have packed lunch along with the canteen food, and that can be a probable reason for their overweight and obesity. And the major reason for this, taste and peer influence. Majority of the adolescents prefer to have paratha with pickle and sabji, which is comparatively a healthier option than fast food for them. And it is observed from the study that all the snacks available in the school canteen were high in fat and sugar, and they were the obvious choice available for them. As far as beverages are concerned, adolescents prefer fruit juices and lassi, which strongly prove that adolescents choose healthier option if made available to them. And at last, to conclude, adolescence is a period of rapid change, and an ideal nutritional status in this age gives a strong foundation for healthy life in future. But in this study, we found that an increase in overweight, obesity, along with underweight in nutrition, which calls for an immediate action not only by parents but also by school management. The school management can play a pivotal role in creating awareness towards healthy lifestyle and can also provide healthier eating options in their canteens. Thank you.
Good evening to one and all. The topic of my presentation is Assessment of Impact of Nutrition Education on Nutrient Intake of Type 2 Diabetes. Diabetes mellitus is a syndrome of impaired carbohydrate, lipid and protein metabolism. It is of three types: non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus and gestational diabetes mellitus. The cause is either lack of insulin secretion or decreased sensitivity of the tissues to insulin, and the approach to control diabetes is diet, drugs and exercise all. The objective of the study was to equip patients with knowledge, skill and such practices so that they can manage their life even well with diabetes. The complete study was carried out in two phases. First was selection of sample and information which was both general and specific in nature, and second part was assessment of nutrient intake. For the study, a sample of 180 type 2 diabetic patients were chosen and who were divided into two strata. Stratum 1 comprised of diabetic patients who were suffering from diabetes since the past 5 years, and stratum 2 comprised of patients suffering from diabetes since the past 10 years. Obese, normal and underweight, all categories were included, and 15 males and 15 females fell into each category. For the second phase, that is assessment of nutrient intake, 24-hour dietary recall was done, and each time the nutrient intake obtained was compared with standards given by Raghuram and Khurana. The results are: for the energy intake, it was found that the obese category in both the strata were consuming energy more than what was required. The normal weight were consuming slightly higher than the RDA, and the underweight were consuming less than what was required. But after the nutrition education was given, all the values switched over to near about adequacy, except the underweight females, which were consuming sufficiently adequate values. For the carbohydrate intake, it was found that the obese males were consuming especially high amount of carbohydrate than what was required. The normal weight were consuming moderate to sufficiently adequate intake, and the underweights were consuming less than what was required. But after the nutrition education was imparted, the values fell to near about adequacy, except in underweight females where the intake was found to be sufficiently adequate. In reference to the protein intake, it was found that all the BMI categories except the obese males in both the strata were consuming less amount of proteins which was required. Only the obese males were consuming adequate amounts. But after nutrition education was imparted, the patients understood the importance of protein and the values reached to moderate and sufficiently adequate intakes. In reference to the fat intake, very alarming results were found that all the BMI categories in both the strata were consuming fats in very high amount in comparison to the RDA. But after the nutrition education was imparted, the values did fall down, but they were still high in comparison to the RDA, and diabetics should be taking less amount of fat because they are prone to diseases like cardiovascular diseases and diseases of the heart. So the summary and conclusion of the complete study is that in diabetics, in the sample studied, the energy and the fat intakes were higher and the protein intakes were low. But when the nutrition education was imparted, people did decrease their energy and fat intake, and carbohydrates did reach a desirable level. Moreover, the underweights who were consuming less than what was required, they did increase their nutrient intake. So overall, it can be said that diabetes is a disease which needs to be managed both through doctors and through nutritionists, and nutritionists have a very big role to play in the disease of diabetes. Even the insulin and the drugs which are taken, they have side effects when they are taken in high amounts for a very long period of time. Thus, it is a disease which has to be managed first through diet and through drugs and insulin, so as to prevent complications and lead a healthy life even with the disease. Thank you.
So before we have the next...
I'm Anshu Chaturvedi, and I'm going to present my paper entitled High Density Lipoprotein Cholesterol Level Among Diabetics. So we start with diabetes. Diabetes is a metabolic disease in which a person suffers from low and high levels of blood sugar, that is known as hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia. The reason behind the disease is either the body does not produce enough insulin or the cells do not respond to the insulin that is produced. Many findings reveal that diabetes doubles the risk of vascular problems, including cardiovascular disease. Diabetes mellitus has been known to be associated with lipid disorders also. So the main object of the study was to see the effects of various age groups, sex and fasting blood glucose level and body mass index of the diabetic patients on their high density lipoprotein levels. The study was carried out in the Bhilwara city, and 70 patients were taken, in which 46 were male and 24 were females, and their age was between 31 to 90 years. Purposive sampling was done for data collection. A structured interview schedule was prepared for data collection, and data was collected regarding general information like patient's age, sex, socioeconomic condition, job profile, etc. For anthropometric measurements, height and weight were taken and BMI were calculated. Patient's diet history were taken via food frequency questionnaire. Disease history and family history of disease were also taken. For the biochemical estimations, lipid profile and fasting blood sugar levels were assessed, and fasting blood sugar was performed with following WV method, and lipid profile included total cholesterol levels, VLDL levels, HDL levels, triglyceride level and LDL levels. Result revealed that except 2%, all diabetic subjects in the age group of 31 to 90 did not have normal HDL levels. 54.29% people were in the age group of 51 to 70 years, and they were not having normal LDL cholesterol. There were only 2 male subjects out of 70 patients who were having normal HDL levels, and there was not a single woman was found to be having normal HDL cholesterol levels. In the Bauer results, it had clearly shown that these 58.57% subjects who were falling in the range of fasting blood sugar, which was more than 130 milligram per dl, had lower HDL cholesterol levels as compared to diabetic subjects who had normal blood glucose levels lower than 110 milligram per dl. With the increase in blood sugar level, number of persons with lower HDL also increased. Same as age and sex, glucose was also significant for the lower HDL levels. All the subjects in the obesity grade 1 and 2 were at high risk for developing coronary heart disease due to low levels of HDL cholesterol. There were only 2.86 subjects of normal BMI were found to be having normal HDL cholesterol levels. Chi-square test performed BMI to have significant relationship with HDL. From the results, it was concluded that there were only 2 male subjects in the age group of 31 to 90 years who were found to be having normal levels of HDL cholesterol. There were only 3% subjects who were found to normal BMI, and only they were having normal HDL cholesterol also. From the result, it can be concluded that major problem among studied diabetic subjects was low HDL cholesterol levels and sedentary lifestyle.
Good afternoon, everybody. My topic is effects of cinnamon on BMI and blood glucose levels in type 2 diabetic men. The term diabetes mellitus describes a metabolic disorder of multiple etiology characterized by chronic hyperglycemia with disturbances of carbohydrate, fat and protein metabolism resulting from defects in insulin secretion, insulin action or both. The WHO estimates a prevalence of 347 million people with diabetes worldwide in 2015. Cinnamon, granted GRAS status by US FDA, is generally safe when ingested and has antioxidant and antibacterial effects. It has an regulatory role in blood glucose levels as it contains a water-soluble polyphenol, methyl hydroxyl chalcol polymers, which has an insulin mimetic effect. The purpose of my study is the use of herbs has more than tripled over the last 10 years, and a whole new industry refers to as nutraceuticals has evolved. Cinnamon has the potential to be useful add-on therapy in the discipline of integrative medicine in managing type 2 diabetes. At present, the evidence is inconclusive, and long-term trials aiming to establish the efficacy and safety of cinnamon is needed. The objective of my study is to find out the effect of cinnamon supplementation on body mass index and blood glucose levels of middle-aged adult males with type 2 diabetes mellitus. Locale of the study was Solanki Hospital, situated in Alwar district, and sample size is 75 adult men, 50 were from the experimental group and 25 from comprises in the control group, and they selected purposely. Duration of the intervention is 3 months. Ethical approval was obtained, and the parameter studies was BMI, body mass index, fasting blood glucose, postprandial blood glucose, and glycated hemoglobin. With inclusion criteria, subjects with type 2 diabetes, age having 40 to 55 years, they were not on insulin therapy, they were not taking medicine on any other health condition, blood sugar fasting levels between 140 to 200 milligram per day, and all subjects taking sulfonylurea and bioguanides drugs medication during the course of study, subjects willing to participate in the studies, and residents of Alwar city only. And the exclusion criteria, patients were not on insulin therapy, they were not consuming non-dietary cinnamon supplements, they were patients with allergy to cinnamon, and patients suffering from any type of carcinoma, CVD or any other acute illnesses. These are this table shows that there was a significant reduction in experimental group in weight, body mass index, fasting blood glucose, postprandial and glycated hemoglobin levels. This graph shows that in mean body weight of control and in mean body weight of experimental subjects, there was a decline or there was a decrease in the subjects who are consuming 2 grams cinnamon powder per day. Same in case of BMI also, there was a decrease in 2 gram experimental group. There was a decrease in BMI, mean BMI of the experimental group. In fasting blood glucose also, there was a declinement trend was observed in 2 gram experimental group, consuming 2 grams cinnamon powder per day. In postprandial blood glucose also, the same trend was observed. And in mean glycated hemoglobin also, in 2 gram experimental group, there was a decrease in mean glycated hemoglobin. Major findings were the respondent belonging to the control group showed an increase in the mean fasting postprandial and HbA1c levels and body mass index. The mean blood glucose parameters improved significantly in the experimental group as compared to the control group. Respondent belonging to the experimental group showed a decrease in the mean fasting postprandial and HbA1c levels and body mass index. From this study, we can conclude that cinnamon powder supplementation improves the glycemic profile of adult men with type 2 diabetes mellitus, and it can also be used as an effective supportive therapy and as an anti-hyperglycemic agent for diabetes. Thank you.